Everybody, welcome to the Adam King Show. We are joined with Ali Alexander for a special after hours edition, following up on what took place with the Ali, Roger Stone, and Darren Beattie panel. Ali went onto the Callin app and gave this freestyle of 2023 almost, with so much detail, and I wanted to bring him back on to talk a lot about it. And you were saying, I told you thank you for this freestyle prior to the show, and we jumped into the recording, and you were saying something about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so we did your show. It's a great show, Darren, Roger, you, and me, and you asked some very relevant questions, and I think that you got honest answers from honest players and honest actors. And sometimes I worry that society has become too stylistic, and we've robbed substance. Style has a role to play in presentation and persuasion, but I think that the Western world has gotten too far away from objective reality, too far away from substance, and sometimes we game theory that out. And so that's why Roger Stone and I can probably agree on 99% of things and present them entirely different. And what was unique about your show was that you got all of us to be honest, and it wasn't like, well, we need to shill for this or shill for that. And so I had some additional thoughts that have been in my head for a couple of weeks, and I felt compelled to share them. So I went on over the Callin app, which is kind of like a free speech alternative to Clubhouse. And it mixes social audio, which is a new category, with podcasting. And I simply said what a lot of people are scared to say, and that is that if Republicans eke a House majority and lose the Senate, then it's Trump running against a feckless House and the Democrats. And how is that better than just Trump running against all of DC? And a flurry of news articles hit. And then I woke up to more today. So Crooks and Liars, which is probably.
You mean there was a media follow-up after your piece on Callin?
Yeah.
Wow.
We're up to 6 hit pieces.
All right, I want to tell you. I want to tell you, and I want to say it to all my listeners, because I want everybody to go look at Ali Alexander's Callin and listen to this freestyle that he gave. I listened to it twice, and this interview really was born out of the fact that I took notes on both sets of these of your speech, and I think that there's some parts of it that are like damn near prophetic, And in the Jewish tradition, we're both men of faith. In the Jewish tradition, prophecy is divided into 2 types of prophecy: good prophecies and bad prophecies. Bad prophecies don't have to come true. But if the prophet speaks a good prophecy and it does not come true, it's liable for the death penalty. And that goes to show you the emphasis of what prophecy as a tool has for the public. You say the bad prophecies because it has the ability to fire people up to repentance, like Jonah did to the city of Nineveh, and the whole city of Nineveh became, repented and changed their ways. And so, the bad prophecy is like a warning. And what you spoke of, I mean, especially the way that you phrased Kevin McCarthy's role as Speaker of the House. And I couldn't agree with you more about Kevin McCarthy. I think he's one of the most feckless, loser, non-engaging. It took him 2 days to respond about the Trump Mar-a-Lago, and the most offensive thing was he responded from a golf course. It's like classless, man. Like, have your office, be at your desk. You know what I'm saying? So this is the president of the United States of America. Show some respect, and to tangent a little bit, I thought about the deep state while you were talking, and Kevin McCarthy's role. It's either Pelosi or McCarthy as Speaker of the House. So we can infer from this that there's some deep state Californian-based entity that is behind this, like, kind of string orchestrating the puppets, Kevin and Nancy, so they can have this like really groomed media stylistic, like you were just saying, this styled war of arguments in which it can mitigate Donald Trump. And I couldn't agree with you more. And I'd love for my listeners to hear firsthand some of the comments you were making about Kevin McCarthy and the predictions that you said, especially how Trump in 2024 is battling him and the Democrats at the same time. So would you share some of that?
Well, I mean, it's all extemporaneous, and it's I had a good long 4 or 5 year run on Periscope, was very popular there, and so I always, well, actually I don't want to get to that. So what I'll say is that, look, Donald Trump, an argument has a frame. Scott Adams is famous for talking about the frame of an argument, right? And inside this frame, there are arguments. Well, if you have an argument outside the frame, you can't possibly win. It's not a question of probability, it's a question of possibility. You can't possibly win. So the American public has to have an argument framed. And when you have an election, you can't say, I'm running against Washington, except for my party. And so what you end up saying is, I'm running against the deep state. And most of the public will accept that, but there is a portion of the public that says, well, what role do you have in that? Or role do your allies have in it? Or what role does your party have in it? And the object of an election is not to get like a transparent majority. What most people don't understand about campaigns is it's a coalition of different special interest groups, and these special interest groups could have no money, right? It could be the pro-life people, it could be the Jewish people, it could be the Palestinian people, it could be big business, it could be
any private interest group.
Yeah, you need to cobble together enough to get a simple majority. And, unless you're doing the electoral college, and that's a series of simple majorities. And so it's going to be very hard on the narrative if Joe Biden and the Senate and the media are blaming all the obstruction on Kevin McCarthy, that Kevin McCarthy takes his one tool out of his belt, which every Republican leader has, and that's a government shutdown. And then we're just playing to their tune. How does Donald Trump, from a narrative point of perspective, run against that? How do we build a coalition that where Donald Trump's words are a referendum on the system itself? I don't think that that's really probable. I think that the people who have faith in Trump lose a little bit of faith. It sets in Kevin McCarthy, who was co-speaker with Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan wasn't the real Speaker of the House. And Paul Ryan only substituted for Kevin McCarthy because it was caught that he had an affair with Renee Elmers, who was part of the House Freedom Caucus, who he was sleeping with to get intel on what the House Freedom Caucus was doing to move the caucus right. So when Kevin, I'm going to go to war with Kevin McCarthy.
And please do, and count on me for support in that publicly.
Yeah. I think I'm going to.
You don't have to love people because we hang out with them at parties.
Yeah.
I think Kevin McCarthy is a little bit if you're a good person to hang out with in public, but behind the scenes you're really working to kind of screw over the American people, you're a scumbag.
That's what I think.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
And there's a lot of these scumbags, and I wanted to touch on, I'm in the donorship world. I personally don't have those pockets. I wish I did, but my friend group is like I wish I was invited to the Elders of Zion. That would be cool. But that was a joke, everybody. But if the Elders of Zion are listening, I would like an invitation. Please remember that. But yeah, so I'm surrounded by a lot of money that are 7-figure annual donors to the party, and they all want Jim Jordan as speaker. They don't want Kevin McCarthy, and so we're at. One thing that I've found that's always been interesting is that even the money doesn't want Kevin McCarthy. So what's keeping him there? What is the pull? Just like Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi wasn't favored for Speaker of the House. It was, I mean, it seemed like she had to really go to great lengths to maintain that position.
It's a very fragile coalition of lieutenants who can raise money and whip. I shouldn't say whip votes. They're just slightly more educated, slightly less bruised by the media than their real conservative counterparts. Now, fortunately, some of these people are losing, like Rodney Davis in Illinois was one of Kevin McCarthy's top lieutenants, and he lost to Mary, what's her name, in Illinois. So the redistricting put two conservative members of Congress together. Rodney Davis had been in, I don't know, at least 10 years or something. And Mary again Miller, it's her first term. She's a freshman. And she has said some crazy stuff, which I love, but she said some crazy stuff, and she beat him with Trump's endorsement. And Rodney Davis had Kevin McCarthy's backing. And so Kevin McCarthy has this string of forgettable lieutenants that control pockets of votes, and they're never attacked by media. And Kevin McCarthy does have some donor support, but also Jim Jordan won't challenge Kevin McCarthy. So Kevin McCarthy sits on a glass throne that is waiting to be toppled. Again, this will be the second time it needs to be toppled. But what does that say?
Why do you think Jim Jordan doesn't make a move? That was such a poignant point that you just made. Do you think that he's controlled? Is it a private interest thing? Like he's not the most well-respected fundraiser. Do you think it's a chain of command thing? Why he's supposed to be this like amazing wrestler that Trump points to and says, "You can kick my ass," but he doesn't do anything. I never seen him wrestle anybody except these like one-liner zingers that get distributed on YouTube from like different hearings.
It's tough to figure out Jim Jordan. Everyone who loves him because what they project onto him, and they love him because of what Fox News has presented of Jim Jordan. And I do think that Jim Jordan is a great member of Congress. But it's very telling that, what I used to believe was that Jim Jordan was incapable of being popular within the caucus. It's now been so many years that that's not true. Jim Jordan is popular within the caucus. Jim Jordan challenges leadership up into a point, and then he backs down. And what I find fascinating is that he challenges leadership less and less and less and less. And so there was a reason, right, to walk up to the line and then back down with John Boehner, because that was his fellow Ohioan. Okay, so that was respect due. And Jim Jordan did a good job of securing votes, scheduled votes from John Boehner, in combination with Mark Meadows and other House Freedom Caucus members. What's happened now is that that's not the case. That's not the dynamic. If Jim Jordan wanted to challenge Kevin McCarthy in a serious way, there would be a stalemate that would take out Kevin McCarthy, and there would be a compromise candidate like Elise Stefanik, or Kevin McCarthy would leave like Newt Gingrich, throw up his hands and say, "I'm gone," and then Jim Jordan would be the speaker. So, and Jim Jordan, I tell people all the time, because they're like, "Oh, well, why not MTG or Matt Gaetz for speaker?" And I said, the speaker is a unique position. You're there to schedule votes. Okay, you have to have some whipping capability. Matt Gaetz and MTG have never served as whip, never served as deputy whips. You have to have the ability to schedule votes and understand that legislative process, which means you have to understand that the Rules Committee, administration, and Ways and Means. MTG and Matt Gaetz don't have an understanding of that. MTG isn't even on committees. So there are other things that we do want a speaker to know that really limits the pool. But Jim Jordan has all of these capabilities. You also have to be able to administer a very large staff, or larger than your congressional staff. And Jim Jordan has done this as chairman and ranking member of several large committees that have done great work. So our options are very, very limited to who could even present an alternative to Kevin McCarthy.
You know, listening to you speak, first I want to just point out, you're one of the most well thought out political analysts I think that I've ever met. And that says a lot. I've met a lot of these political analysts, and you have such a depth of mind to you that only works in an Ali Alexander type of way. And so, you know, before I ask this next question, I wanted to preface by saying that, because this next question I feel really is a along the same lines, but almost in obviously your commentary is you feel that the Freedom Caucus has failed. The question that I have for you is, and you have your perspective on Mark Meadows, but was the removal of Mark Meadows from the House and putting him as chief of staff, was two things I want to say. First the question and then a point. The question was, the removal of Mark Meadows and putting him as chief of staff, was that kind of like a massive blow to the Freedom Caucus? And then the second thing I just wanted to point out, based on your last statement, especially with Gates and Marjorie Taylor Greene, because I don't think that there's anybody in the House that I respect more than Marjorie Taylor Greene at this moment. And I also think, God willing, Jerome Davison wins in Arizona. I think he'll be somebody who stands for us the way that the MJT does. But wouldn't it be nice if we had an educational system that could actually groom these people properly? And it would be something great for, I would say you should do a project like that and really teach these people how to be Speaker of the House, but yeah, first, if you could address the question about Mark Meadows' departure from the House and how that you think might that have affected the Freedom Caucus.
Good question. And yes, this shows why. Look, if we had civics and primary education, the top 10% of people who are interested in the topic would self-identify and then do self-knowledge and self-learning to have the depth of knowledge that I do today. So the system could autocorrect itself by simply actually giving a crap about our republic and helping for the lowest common denominator. The rest would work itself out. That being said, in its absence, we do need to wonder, like we have great institutions like the Hisdale College and the Leadership Institute, but not enough operatives know what I know. I mean, my colleagues don't know what I know. And I'll tell you this, I came from the outside in, and so I had to learn on the spot. So most of my career is forgotten because of most of my career's accomplishments are forgotten. And some of what used to be my most famous battles, which were known in the industry, have been dwarfed by my activism, which is now known to tens of millions or hundreds of millions of Americans. And that is that a lot of people don't know that, I've been involved in several RNC chair fights. I've been involved in House caucus fights. And so I've watched the behind the scenes of how a lot of this stuff goes. And I'm maybe one of like 20 or 30 people in the country that got to participate in this stuff as a non-Hill staffer. And so it's like, I know how to go to war with someone and then make friends with them after the vote. And I know how to keep my grassroots cred while exchanging favors with the establishment to secure, a minority of what we want, knowing that we are the minority as conservatives. And what I would say is that Donald Trump needed a loyalist as chief of staff, and frankly, he hadn't had one until Mark Meadows. And that makes me so sad for our president, so sad for our country. And Mark Meadows wanted to be inside the administration. I believe in other roles, but he wanted to be inside the administration. And we were cruising for a reelection. So it was a bet. But I do think that we lost that bet. I think that the question you're asking and the answer I'm avoiding is that Mark Meadows should have stayed in the House. And there's other names that should have stayed in the House. Devin Nunes. And I love Devin Nunes. I love Devin Nunes. And I love what he's doing over at Truth Social and TMTG. That being said, if we take the House and we lost a guy who would either chair the Intelligence Committee again or chair the Oversight Committee or have us pick at one of the other major committees with subpoena power, that's a real blow, because we don't, as conservatives, we don't think about institutional thinking. We think we're so merit prone, which we're not, that we think that any individual can just learn on the spot. And that's not how these things work. You really do need 8 years to 10 years to really know what you're doing as a chair. And Devin Nunes knows what the hell he's doing. He knew so much what he was doing that he didn't give a crap what leadership or the caucus thought. He did the right thing on Russiagate, and then the party adapted around him. And so that was a real risk, and few people can't be compromised. So there's a lot of people who have drinking habits. There's a lot of people who are cheating on their spouses on the Hill. This is just common knowledge. And look, I get it. It happens a lot. But Devin Nunes is a man above reproach, as the Bible says. And then, I mean, John Ratcliffe, and thank God for John Ratcliffe, who went and served as the DNI. But we desperately thank God for him in the post-election period. But when you really think about it, we lost 3 men who would have been chairs of committees with subpoena power that would have held Kevin McCarthy accountable. Donald Trump has been Kevin McCarthy's greatest gift. And it's just amazing to watch. And either, it's coincidence or fate, or it's bad advice to Trump, or Trump's in on it. And I don't believe that, but for just counting probabilities, it's really shocking to look at this list of names, and I'm not happy about it. And then I think about Pompeo coming from the House, and he's at CIA, and then we move him over to state. Why didn't we just keep him at CIA? And now he's basically willing to challenge Trump for the nomination, is the rumor on the street. And so I think that Donald J. Trump, they failed at giving him a political director and a legislative director who really told him the personalities that he was dealing with. Oh, and let me say this. Marco Rubio was Speaker of the House in Florida before he became a senator. Mark Meadows was Speaker of the House in North Carolina before he became a member of Congress. Andy Biggs was Speaker of the House in Arizona before he became a member of the House, and he's the current chairman of the House Freedom Caucus, and I think he's mismanaging the hell out of it. But so again, we have to look back at the resumes to again see who is used to being able to deal with this load of work, because it's a lot of work. A lot of people think it's media and fundraising. No, that's just 2 parts of the job. The major constitutional parts of the job are very serious, and it's one of the surviving kind of constitutional traditions. And it's what makes Nancy Pelosi is either the first or second most skilled speaker in modern American history. She's truly talented at her job.
I agree with you 100% on that comment. And coming from a Republican, I think it's so nice to hear that, because I say that all the time to people. And I feel like people look at me like, you're not allowed to say anything positive about the enemy. And I'm like, but you could learn a lot from her.
Yeah. I mean, and again, she's good as a speaker and a party leader, and few can do both. So you could say Tip O'Neill was a great speaker who exercised a lot of great power, and a lot of power, right? He basically had veto power over the Democrat Party, but he wasn't the party leader. Nancy Pelosi is the party leader, and she's the Speaker of the House. She's a fundraising juggernaut. She gets the legislative tricks. She gets the rules. She, if she wanted to, would overrule a parliamentarian. She gets the administration of the Capitol grounds, a sergeant at arms, the cover up of J6. I mean, Nancy Pelosi, you know,
she ran the whole cover up too. As this is going on, she's running cover for like NVDA in Taiwan. She's making millions. She's like prolific. She's like, we're gonna vote over here, so my stock price goes up, and then I'm gonna sell, and then we're gonna vote over here, and my stock price is gonna go down while I'm Speaker of the House doing all this crazy stuff. Oh, and getting her husband off of a DUI where he injured a woman. You know, like,
we have no one like her. There's no counterpart.
If only she was a good person, she'd get so much done. Why can't we have a Nancy Pelosi for the side of good? You know, that's funny. Yeah. But I want to comment on, first of all, brilliant analysis. You deserve your own school, and you deserve to be in the House. And when I look for a leader that I have, you're never supposed to be friends with your leaders. Don't think that they're the person that you can have a beer with. You're a friend of mine. But when I think of you as a leader, I don't think of you as a friend of mine. I think of you as a leader. And I think that that's an important differential, because I think you have what it takes to really put the infrastructure together around the party on the inside and be one of us who takes over the infrastructure, the establishment, and causes our revolution that way. And I see that in you a lot, especially as you know, like, I'm telling you thoughts that I had, and you're just like putting this ice cream cake frosting on top of it, that my mouth is watering. I'm like, he solved the riddle. It's amazing. But this, I'm very critical of 2018. 2018, you had those 35 congressmen, or was it 45 congressmen? You know, I was very close with Ed Royce at the time. And I was very upset with Paul Ryan that he walked off. These baby little bitches. There's no other word to describe 2018 than the little bitches. And all these people should be canceled. Any Republican who's in the trenches doing war or political warfare for the people, and then says, okay, I had enough. I'm going to go over here and cash in on what my wife was, millions that my wife made while I was in office, Ed Royce. You know, that 2018 was a time that we really lost a lot of seasoned people in the House that were essential. And as you were talking about these people who had speaker position experience, and as you were talking about all John Ratcliffe and Devin Nunes, and I mean, Devin Nunes is now in the private sector. The guy can't even, you know, carry on the fight. It's almost as if we got abandoned in the House. And I would have liked Trump to have known that. You know, there's in House of Cards, I'll never forget this scene. It like stuck in my soul, that he says, no, I can't have you as VP. I need you in the House. Like, why didn't Trump have that? Why do you think, I mean, you've been close to the president before. Like, why do you think he didn't, and that's the only type of stuff that makes me think either Trump was like led like a doggy and pony show, you know, obviously with Rex Tillerson and people like that. Like, why did you choose these people type of thing? But like, why didn't Trump say by 2018 identify that he needed people in the House, and then after 2018 took the best leaders we had out of the House, put them in positions where they could be fired by the next administration, or in the case of Devin Nunes, works for Trump now, and they're completely out of the fight. I mean, you're not going to see John Ratcliffe back in the fight. You're not going to see Devin Nunes back in the fight, you know, in a meaningful way. Jason Chaffetz is now at Fox. You're not going to see him in the fight. I mean, so what's your comment on that? I'd like you to go a little bit further down that path, because I think this is the information that America is begging to hear from any media source, censored or uncensored.
Well, you know, let me go ahead and then just brag on myself, just to compound what you said about me.
Floss for us.
Is there's not a Republican operative in the country who could go toe to toe against me in my thesis and my recommendations in a debate, half hour, 2 hour period. I really mean that. And
I would agree with it, and if you're open and agree on the show, I will start working on trying to get people to debate you.
I'd love that. I would love that, because at this juncture, look, there are some GOP operatives. Really, actually, there aren't. But like what a lot of these young guys are missing is institutional knowledge that I have, and so they, like me, when I got in the business, you're caught in the matrix. You're repeating a storyline that's already been done, and that's if you're a good guy. If you're a bad guy, you're actively subverting everyone. You don't care. But what you don't understand is it's not just the Matrix that's on replay. It's also Zion that's on replay in the physical world. And so again,
that's a great analogy. I got such a great analogy.
Glory to God for like somehow putting me in these unique positions where I'm in the middle of these fights, and then I'm reflecting on them, and I say, okay, well, to exit the system, we need X. So what I'm about to say, I've put hundreds of hours into thinking about this. And again, I don't think there's a single Republican, because this is what I can tell you. The beauty about a true answer, not a better answer, the true answer is that truth has this beautiful attribute in that it can appease all sides. And the sides may resist it, but it is for your own good. It's for your own edification. And so I say this, the people around Trump believe that they need to make alliances to slow down the opposition. That is true up until a point. It is not true when you get to Mattis, Tillerson, etc. I can get why that mistake was made, and I too would have made that mistake. Why we didn't learn from there, why Trump's inner circle didn't learn from there, is the problem. It's not the problem that they made a human mistake.
It's not a problem. They never learn from their actions.
Right.
Repetitively. And, I want to point out this Alex Jones thing, September 23rd is today, right? And he's supposed to have like a thing today. Alex is going to walk, essentially. I mean, am I right?
I don't know what's happening. I know he's in the Connecticut doing that thing. So maybe that determination is today or whatever. The trial ends today. Don't know.
No, Alex said something about Trump walking back his support on children.
Decided. Trump said he's not moving on the issue. So that's done.
See, that kind of stuff makes me see like gigantic holes in the thinking process and just see, okay, well, if you could get manipulated so severely there, then obviously, if I'm standing behind you in battle, I might get shot.
Yeah, at this point, Trump is his own worst enemy. So the other part of the equation, so there's personnel, right? But then there's fundraising. And this is what has not clicked for our party, which fundamentally changes the fabric of the republic for the better. And that's that we don't need big donors. And people think I say that because I'm naive, or people think I say that because I'm in the grassroots, or it's like, I have been there, I have done that. You can find pictures of me and David Koch together. You can find articles about me and Bob Mercer together and him giving me money. I'm not somebody who hasn't tasted the fruit. Okay. I'm not some grifter who had a Twitter account. One article today said I was a self-described political strategist, and then went on to talk about me organizing the largest rallies in GOP modern history. And what was funny is I was like, okay, well, I am a GOP strategist. That has been how I've made my income. And that's how everyone else describes me. How's that self-described? But what I'm saying is that Donald Trump thinks he needs to make, or Donald Trump's advisors thinks he needs to either make alliances that hurt his agenda for personnel reasons or fundraising. He doesn't realize he doesn't need either. Or they don't realize he doesn't need either. He realizes that he doesn't need it. So fundamentally what I'm saying is that we do get our pick at it now. For the first time in American history, we really get to take our pick at it. Donald Trump can have his cake and eat it. And it sounds counterintuitive, but it's 100% true because everything else imploded on us. Everything else imploded on us. And what he will find out in the last betrayal, right? If we're watching The Passion of Donald Trump, the person who was coming to kiss him on the cheek in the Garden of Gethsemane.
I could just picture though, like his thorns roses are covered in gold, you know, and he's got the gold. Anyway, sorry.
The person who's coming to kiss him on the cheek is Ronna Romney McDaniel, and that the RNC is paying some of Trump's legal bills.
And then she goes and has Thanksgiving dinner at her uncle's house right afterward.
Yeah, so they're going to have they're paying the RNC is paying part of Trump's legal bills, which is why he endorsed her for re-election against the advice of a lot of us. And what he doesn't realize is that the RNC committee, which needed him to get reelected, all of them needed him to get reelected. I mean, he could have taken all of them out. It's crazy that one person could have, because it wouldn't have worked with anybody else. And the RNC is going to make sure that Donald Trump has primary. Now, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that Donald Trump trouncing somebody would be easy and fun, exciting, you know, but it can't be discounted that the alliances that, what I'm saying is his staff thinks they're building alliances that they're not really building. Kevin McCarthy becomes immune from Donald Trump in December of this year. Donald Trump won't be able to do crap to Kevin McCarthy after they have their caucus vote for who becomes speaker. So, you know, Donald Trump's advisors are calculating that Donald Trump is weaker than he is, or that we, the people, can't be called on to exercise influence over our members. And it's fundamentally a bad decision, and it's not gotten us anything. Why not just partner fully with the establishment at this point? They're giving him the worst of all outcomes. He presents himself, they present him as an outsider, and he's not. So either be the outsider, be the insider. Either one experiences less friction than we're experiencing now.
Yeah, I haven't heard it more perfect. Be the outsider or be the insider to Donald Trump. Because he's really in a purgatory place, and he's never going to get out of it.
Yep, it's a purgatory.
He has to make a decision where he belongs, and if he doesn't, then it's really too late for him, you know, because like I said before, when I'm choosing I've chosen leaders from my friends, but I consciously make that differential that as soon as they are leaders, they are now just leaders. I have to respect them as leaders, and as a leader, Donald Trump made some significant mistakes. And I wanted to support him because I love him so much, but you know, he makes significant mistakes.
Yeah.
And
he doesn't learn from them.
And I'll tell you, just by watching the meme craft of Donald Trump Jr., I think Donald Trump Jr. might have surpassed his father by now in at least loyalty to our cause. I could be mistaken, but I don't see him as the globalist like his sister is, and Jared Kushner. Jared was a big disappointment, but he had some wins, but he also had some disappointing things. Anyways, but back on the point, I don't want to tangent from this. What do you see? I mean, do you see Donald Trump choosing We the People? And if he doesn't choose We the People, what galvanizes We the People to choose itself and take back Washington?
You know, I don't know. And you know, what do they say? Past is prologue. The reason why I appear prophetic to, you know, a lot of my audience, what a lot of people don't realize is that I started winding down my GOP clients, my PAC clients, when I felt like the country needed me as the MAGA ombudsman. And that's why I started Periscope. Then what I didn't realize was that people wanted to volunteer their money to offset my sacrifices. And so I was like, okay, I reluctantly created a Patreon And I was like, wow, people are donating. I better give them a benefit. And we started this program that eventually ballooned in 2020. And I was so grateful that I just didn't really know that there was a market for a GOP consultant for the masses. And I was like, this is new. And what the reason I seem prophetic is because my institutional knowledge, my rate of recall on that institutional knowledge, my commitment to understanding both sides and then finding the optimal route, even if it's not the moral route. I can say, okay, well, it's the suboptimal route, or let's make the moral decision knowing it's suboptimal. And, but Donald Trump, people ask me, well, how do you know what's going to happen? Why can't you give Donald Trump a chance in this category? To be clear, I'm supporting Donald Trump for 2024. You know, our fates are wedded together. But I know that Donald Trump hasn't learned his lesson because Save America is operating just like his first term administration. His legal team is operating worse than his White House. I constantly signal to the public that he should be doing X, Y, or Z. Then finally, when he adopts X, Y, or Z, I'm told, well, see, Ali. And I'm like, see, my people made that happen. You know, the calls that go on behind the scenes, the public pressure campaigns. Donald Trump's team wasn't going to file anything in regards to the FBI raid. They literally thought they could surf on the backs of Judicial Watch and the media organizations. And then his lawyer went on TV and said, oh, yeah, well, we're preserving all objections. It's like, no, you don't understand. Once you get out of the trial court and you're at the appellate level, even if you enter an appearance, you know, because you are an interested party, you've waived all those objections. And the fact that his lawyers didn't know that, it's like, I spent 10 days lobbying in front of the public and behind the scenes, creating a lot of calls from Mar-a-Lago for them to do something. They finally did a little bit of what I wanted, but not enough. So I'm just going to say, Donald Trump has already proven that he's not fixed the personnel issue. And either he's tried and can't, or he hasn't tried and won't. Both of those are the same outcome. And what we need in preparation for obtaining the White House needs to be done now. Most people don't even understand that if we don't by March or April of next year fix our elections, they're fixed for 2024. Most people don't know, you know, most of these state legislative bodies meet during the winter, spring, and those rules for the prior election or the upcoming election need to be done at least a year in advance. Coronavirus was the exception because the pandemic. So there aren't going to be emergency powers used to fix an election 8 months ahead of time for the good.
Yeah,
only for the
I
bad.
also think that Republicans are banking on 2022, that people are really angry with the voter fraud, that they come out in mass droves so that when they have the House, then they can do something, as opposed to doing something prior. You know, and this was some criticism I had of Donald Trump. Like, he spoke about voter fraud. 2016, we knew of voter fraud. And in your call-in, one of the things I loved about your call-in was how you mentioned that Hillary Clinton had a statistical probability of 93 to 7% on election night of winning, and she lost. You know, and so I think, like, there's so much banking on this like false narrative, so that, you know, it's like lazy power. It's like, when we get the power back, then we'll do the changes.
Yeah.
And that's not we the people. We the people is like, my only complaint about January 6th is that we left the Capitol building. And I'm not afraid to say that. I think the worst thing, you look at everything that happened in the Democrat riots of 2020, they literally moved in. They made an autonomous zone and named it something so ridiculously loser pathetic, Chaz, like spaz. Like, and they were allowed to do it for months. They even killed somebody in their own country and had no consequences, as if we gave them sovereign power. And yet, and we show up in the Capitol. And when I saw the people storm the Capitol, I was cheering. Yes! I was screaming at the top of my lungs. My neighbors heard me. They were like, something's going on. They all turned on their TVs and they heard me screaming, and they all got excited too. Everybody felt that January 6th, we the people, we were going to go there, and we were going to have a sit-in, and we were going to sit down, and we weren't going to leave. And we weren't going to leave the Capitol till it was fixed. And I really thought that. And then like an hour, 2 hours later go by and everybody starts leaving. I'm like, what's going on? The Democrats just took like 4 Capitol buildings. Why are you leaving? We take the Capitol, one thing, it's done, chick chuck. You know, so not only were there operatives in getting the people in there, there's also operatives in getting the people out of there. And that's also been left out of the J6 story because
it's social proof.
It's not American culture to go into a Capitol building and leave.
Right. It's not. It's really not. And it was social. It was creating social proof, which is how psyops work these days. And it's like you spread the social proof, and it is more true than the truth, because humans are mimetic beings. And people can read Rene Girard and mimetic desire and learn a little bit more about that. And yeah, the Chaz and Chop Zone are harken back to the Paris Commune during the French Revolution, where Karl Marx was studying in the French Revolution on the ground, funded by the bankers. And it's very frustrating. It's like we don't need to be smarter. We don't need to be better organized, but there is a minimum level of intelligence and organization that I think God requires of us before we get that miracle. And we are not, as a movement, exercising it.
Oh, yes. That is it. That is it. God is watching us right now. And he's saying, please, my children, just do something. Just do something. Show me your free will. Just do something. And you hit it on the head. You just hit it. And everybody goes on TV, and all the spiritual fake prophets of the generation, they go on TV and they say, it's gonna be good, it's gonna be a landslide, it's gonna be good, it's gonna be good. And that's why, like I said in the beginning, when a prophet comes around and says a good prophecy that isn't true, in the ancient Jewish tradition, the punishment is death. You come around and say, we are gonna win all the prophets. There's one prophet in the Bible, he says that the price of bread will drop the next day, and it drops the next day. If he said that if he said that and the price of bread was the same, he's supposed to be put to death. It's like a challenge on their prophecy. And here, all these fake prophets are going around saying 2022 is going to be a red tsunami. Everything is a wave. Everything is like a blizzard, it's like a crazy storm, sensationalism, and we get to this point, and it's like, we have to stop and just like, and this is why your call-in was so refreshing, because we should always be thinking it's about to be the end. And we're so in a checkmate situation. It's not a checkmate situation. I won't say that, but it's like, it feels like a checkmate situation that if one or two things don't go our way, we have to break the cheating. And I'm very close with the Mastriano campaign. I don't know if you saw any of those videos that I did with Mastriano.
No, I haven't yet.
We did 2 on Ben Stein with him running for governor. And like, just like, he ended up in the middle of his campaign, like really trusting a lot of establishment operatives. And they honestly screwed everything up, dude. Mastriano was hot. He was making controversial appearances. He was like getting out there in front of he was in Stop the Steal. He was in the movies, he was in the January 6th movie. And now he's just like playing ball, thinking that like he's got to like appease the center and the people who like, are the moral center or whatever they think they are, and you see like the establishment make these failures. And it's a long way about going about my criticisms of the establishment. I love being so anti-establishment. This is one of the reasons why I respect you so much, is because I really feel like you are a leader of I don't want to call us the anti-establishment, because when I hear you speak, I hear structure, and that makes me feel secure. It makes me feel secure. You know what I'm saying? So and just here's a personal question to you. Like, you have all this political power, you have all this influence behind the scenes, like, and I know in your call-in you have this whole segment about what it requires to be a political figure with extrovertedness and that whole thing, and really that being a political figure, being a public figure is one thing, Being a political figure is another thing. And then being a leader of an activist type of thing, that's like King David level. You know what I'm saying? You got to be original. And while you were talking, you said a few minutes ago, I'm going to brag about myself. And you were talking about all these things, and you left out one key ingredient in that. And that's your street. You're so street. You have to know what is going on. You have to be with it. You know what I'm saying? You have to be of the people. And the only way to be, what is street? It means we the people. Street is we the people. And so like, I want to know like about you and your future, like maybe you're serving a limited capacity for us as our leader. Like maybe we need you in the house, and from maybe being in the house, then you could teach these people from the house. And like, you'd be like an AOC on day one. People would be like literally like burning effigies to you and doing secret witchcraft ceremonies, trying to like do voodoo on you and take you out. Like I think you'd be, like I said earlier, Marjorie Taylor Greene is my favorite right now in the house. And as you said about the 1,000 opportunities that were missed, and for my viewers, Ali said this unbelievable outtake that there's thousands of opportunities that these
1,000 individual opportunities to have stood with individual vulnerable victims
of J6. Marjorie Taylor Greene should be out with you, dude. You're like the biggest victim of the whole thing. You have so much on your shoulders. Like, I mean, these people should have been alleviating your loads. I'm sure some of them don't even really know Ali Alexander. Oh, who's that guy again? Playing it dumb. Like, where are they? Where's Marjorie Taylor Greene for Ali Alexander? And I love Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's my favorite person in the house. So if I'm saying that, then we got a serious problem on our hands.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so maybe it's not about Marjorie Taylor Greene being there for Ali Alexander. Maybe it's about Ali Alexander being there for Marjorie Taylor Greene. Maybe you got to get in there and step it up. And 2024, you should be in the house so that you could be really pushing this agenda, because there's nobody on our side, who is as organized in thought structure. You have the roadmap in your head about how to defeat our enemies.
Easily. I could build a permanent Republican majority for my lifetime.
Save the republic. And I think you have the honesty and integrity, and you're so we the people that I don't think, I liked what you said about making deals with the establishment.
Yeah.
I really think you need to be in the house.
Here's a big secret that a lot of people don't know. Well, they should know, but they don't, maybe people don't think about is, again, it's like I'm a co-creator of the Tea Party movement, Stop the Steal, Donald Trump. I've got a lot of street, okay? I'm a barbarian at the gate, not just of the country, but of the RNC, of the Republican establishment. But here's what happens. When I go into the Capitol Hill Club, okay, which is a private membership only.
I've been there,
yeah, is everyone
my
shakes
viewers
my hand.
might not know what it is. The Private Hill Club. Tell them what it is.
The Capitol Hill Club is a building right next to the RNC, and you can eat there, talk there, and you basically have to be a Republican. You have to have a sponsor to have a membership. You have to be invited by a member to attend. It's all member based, and it's
like a party. It's like a midday party. You go there. Yeah. I've had drinks. Last time I was there, I was with Kevin McCarthy and Steve Scalise having beer.
Yeah, and when I go in there, I am beloved. So all these establishment people who hate me on Twitter, or can't whisper my name, or when their boss comes around has to close that tab. All these guys love me, and they love me in front of each other. It's like, that's the weirdest thing, is like, you would almost think that I'm whatever, because I'll sit down to eat with someone and people will come one at a time to shake my hand. Thanks for all your work for the Republican Party. Because they know that at the end of the day, I'm throwing down with the team. Okay. I'm not going to leave the team divided, but when they're off the team, they're off the team. And it's possible for the captain of the team to be off the team. Okay. And that's where I draw the line. I'm willing to let them win a majority of the time, because conservatism is a minority thought inside the Republican Party, unfortunately. But I'm not willing to let the captain betray the platform. Not on my watch.
Amen.
And so for all the pretend hate.
That's why you need to be the captain, though.
Well, I'll say this too. A lot of people.
It's not enough that we have an ability to check the captain. We need to be the captain, so that we don't have to check anybody.
Well, a lot of people have asked me to run for Congress, and I'm not interested in it. Here's the only way. One, I have an agreement with God on the conditions it would take to run for Congress. Okay, so and that almost happened in 2017 when Representative Barton, which goes up to Arlington, Texas, which sits in the middle of Dallas and Fort Worth, all the way down to Waxahachie and stuff. It was this perfect district, and he was a longtime member. Sometimes he was frustrating the leadership, not because he was more conservative. He just wanted what he wanted. But anyway, he got caught sending text messages of his body or whatever to someone he was having an affair with or something like that. And he wasn't going to resign. And so I was going to run against him. And, my second call was to Steve Bannon. And I said, let's do this. Because Barton had also done something against the Trump administration. And so I was preparing to run against him. I had, within 72 hours, we had about $750,000 committed. So I was like, I've always said, if I ever run, it's going to be in a red district where I can run to the right of the right. And I have to outraise everyone because of my past.
Like, honestly, the campaign should be like, STFU, I'm a proud carpetbagger. I'm going where I'm going to dominate. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and this was only 15 minutes from my house. So and there are enough transplants here, and I'm a native Texan, that it wouldn't have even seemed like carpetbagging. And then we pushed Barton too hard to where he dropped out of the race. And so what the math works out is that I could beat a sitting member of Congress in scandal, but I couldn't beat the tax assessor who has more name ID than me, a clean slate, and not the past that I had. So I almost became a member of Congress in 2018.
What about in like some of these districts in like Arizona or something where like?
Yeah, I love Arizona. And
there's so many places. That's like, there's so much work there. Like if we really ran you as like a proud carpetbagger and just said, hey, this is the leader of our movement. He's going to move here to lead us so that we don't have such loser bullshit happening. And really like there's Arizona has this one district that is like being flooded with like really cool young conservatives. They all grow pot. They have huge pot farms, and they're like really, it's a cool place. You would have an easy time. I'll get the there's a town there called Kingman. I don't know what the town is called, but the city is called Kingman.
Yeah, I mean, like, in one of my strongest bases as a public figure and politically is in Arizona. I have a lot of friends there, and including Congressman Gosar, who's faithfully stayed by my side and been a great friend and someone who prays for me, and I pray for him. And his whole staff is great, and he's never denounced anyone ever. And but what I was going to say is that I could easily be a member of the House. All I need is like $2 to $3 million, and I'm capable of raising it. But here's why I won't run. One, I don't like the fact that I would have to be my own best advocate. So if a super donor walked up to me, one of these mega donors, walked up to me and said, Ali, I'm going to put $5 million in a PAC to get you elected. So you just do whatever you need to do, but just know this PAC will take care of all your direct mail and all your TV, and we'll do the polling for the message testing. I'll be like, okay, well then I'll run. I'll move where you want and I'll run where you want. But the idea that I have to tax my network, beg for favors, cash in favors, do all of that to run, I'm just not into that. I've said when I'm 70, I want to serve in the Texas State Senate. But yeah, we do need like it's interesting. Eric Cantor and I have similar personalities. We need somebody on the grassroots level side who thinks like Eric Cantor or me, goes in there, and you will be promoted up to leadership pretty fast. Elise Stefanik got to leadership pretty fast. Steve Scalise got to leadership when he desired it really fast. He didn't want it prior to that. Kevin McCarthy is kind of the welfare case of past leadership. So it's possible. I'll put it this way: it is easier than everyone thinks. In fact, I would say when we imagine how difficult it is to repair the Republican Party on a scale of 1 to 100, and everyone imagines that it's going to take 100, we can do it for 10% of that energy. I promise you. It just has to be unified. It just has to be unified.
That's why it takes George Soros $18 billion to do what $1 billion does for us. And even and that's 1 billion of establishment money. I think that 1 billion of establishment money, of Republican establishment money, is equal to 100 million of street Republican money. You know, like individuals giving $20 to $100, you know, who's saying, let's go fight, let's go fight, let's go fight. You know,
the fact is that there's no GOP operative. There's more GOP operatives that would take $5 million for TV ad money than $1 million to do the hard work of buying and renting vans, identifying voters and pastors and priests and rabbis, and busing people to the polls the day of. They don't want to do the
like the Democrats do.
Yeah,
you want to stop voter fraud? If you want to stop voter fraud in this country, Republicans should start campaigning like Democrats, and Democrats are going to be like, oh, the gig is up. You know, we don't do anything. I think the biggest mess actually is the Republican Party of Los Angeles County, RPLAC. And I know we're getting to the 1 hour mark, and I could go on for hours. I mean, I didn't even get on my notes. I got notes upon notes.
Let's hit your top 3 notes. Here,
I'll read it. Not voting. My 21st birthday fell on election day, Kerry versus Bush, and I was like, these guys are literally probably having a secret boys orgy at the Skull and Bone Society with each other. I'm not in on it. I'm not voting. I love that. Cultural events. We got to talk about prophecy. Kevin McCarthy being a loser. I wanted to go into Alex Stein with Dan Crenshaw. I love that. I
want Alex Stein to run against Dan Crenshaw.
That would be incredible.
That's a race, and that's a race where I would volunteer my services. I would go live down in the woodlands and work for him for free. If it's putting out signs, knocking doors, or doing
Alex, listen to him. If you see this video, Alex, do what he says. That would be epic for America. And for your career. If you lost, you'd have a tidal wave if you lost.
And the good news is I know some donors that are looking to put money into 2024 challenging him. So there's money.
I do too, Ollie. And to my viewers, you guys all know who you are, and you will see this video. We are going to be supporting what Ollie's candidates. I want to introduce you to a lot of people, because I really feel that the money's being spent either way.
Right.
It's being wasted in its traditional mechanisms of delivery, you know, this establishment thinking, like you said, the $5 million TV ad. There's so much more we could do.
Yeah, a return on investment. And look, I think what people need to understand is that the Texas primary is in March. It's so early that we have to recruit a candidate in the spring of next year. They have to run. We have to then press our personal contacts for early endorsements. And this person is going to have to run. The Texas cycle is short. We basically run November through March, and that's it. And then we have the rest of the year to just chill, because most districts aren't competitive. And so it's in South Texas and around Dallas where it's kind of competitive. So a lot of people don't realize that Texas favors establishment candidates and moneyed candidates because our primary is so early. If Texas was in July, our whole state would look like Arizona. So we should move the primary, and Texas politicians do not want to do that.
Yeah,
but two,
it's like a form of gerrymandering.
Yeah, and Dan Crenshaw will have $10 million to spend, but we can beat him in the Woodlands with $5 million. But it is going to be $5 million.
I think Alex can beat him for less because he's so funny and people love him. People go nuts over Alex Stein. He's the type of person. He's the type of person that can get $100,000 $50 donations.
Well, he is, and I actually, so I met Alex in Nebraska a few weeks ago, and I told him, I said, you should run against him. He's like, you think? But I mean, Alex is so old.
I'll help. I'll put all my resources behind it.
Yeah, he's so old school Dallas that it might be hard for him to think about moving, but I think he should. I think he would be the best candidate.
We all have to be willing to be carpetbaggers. As somebody who just moved out of LA because of the increased amount of human fecal matter everywhere, I moved out to the countryside by the farms to escape the homelessness. I leave a product. I'm not going to talk about what I leave on my front porch, but I mean, like, I live in a safe place. You know? I went from Beverly Hills, which is like a jungle that smells like piss. Beverly Hills smells like piss, to like a beautiful farm life filled with safety and a lot of distance between the people trying to come for me and my guns.
Yep.
So, but I want to be respectful of time. There was so much that we covered, that there was to cover. I'll read through them. Faith, Descent, Jim Jordan, Band.video. I heard what you said, that you wanted to try to get the Adam King show on Band.video. That would be unbelievable to fight next.
I keep forgetting there's a certain way it needs to be done. Well, staff's not taxed to do this or whatever. So it's in the works. It will happen. I just,
for someone like me who values the man in the fight and the man in the arena, to quote Alex, I also want to enter into the arena and have his back. I was born for this. But yeah, I mean, we could go over this again. I mean, I love what you do. I love everything that you say. I really do believe that you are one of the most brilliant minds in our country, and you're young. And that means that we have so much future ahead of us if we can galvanize and rally support for people like you. So I would love to do interviews like this whenever you want. You are more than welcome to come on the show. I will come up with, I'm going to go to work and try to find people who will debate you. I think we should slaughter a few people together. I think it would be fantastic.
These establishment consultants, like, make the case. And if they successfully make the case that Stop the Steal or election integrity is having a chilling effect on the vote, okay, let's do it. But the fact is that they cannot numerically prove that they are gaining more moderates or independents than they are losing patriots. And so if this is a game of math, take your feelings out of it. And it's not a game of math. It's about control.
Exactly. And I'm going to push that. And you know what, if they say no, then they're just a freaking Democrat wolf in sheep's clothing. Because we value debate. And even if your ideas are less, go take the loss for the sake of the team and show the world that somebody educated you on something better. That's what it takes to be a real man, to be a real American or a woman, is to be able to take a loss. There's an Instagram meme going around. I love Instagram, even though I've been socially canceled like crazy off it, and my stories get to 4 people. But there was a UFC woman who got the shit kicked out of her, bloody face. At the end of the thing, she's like, "Thank you so much. This was such a learning experience. I'll do it again anytime." She's like half pretty girl, now looks like roadkill.
A client actually sent that to me.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. I was like, whoa.
That's what we need that's the type of rigorous honesty debate that we need. We need people willing to get their ass kicked as their opinions to somebody who has better opinions, so that we can galvanize and save our country. Or else go buy a Chinese flag on Amazon now while it's cheap, or else it's going to be a lot more expensive when they come here.
Amen.
On that note, I'm going to close out this 1-hour segment so that we don't go over. I would love to do this again. Ali, thank you so much. Where everybody can find you, Give, Send, Go. Ali, call in. Where do they find you on the day-to-day?
So I need prayers and I need donations for my legal defense fund at givesendgo.com/Ollie Alexander. If you think I'm helping the Republic, if you think I'm fighting for your values, if you want to help a J6 litigant, then go to givesendgo.com/Ollie Alexander. I'm also on Telegram as Ollie Alexander, or the call-in app, that's calling without the G, as Ollie Alexander. And on Truth Social, I'm just Ollie, like I was on Twitter before I was canceled for helping organize the permanent parts of January 6th events, which I do not regret, will not deny, will not denounce. And we will continue the fight as much as we can. But I require the support of people, because I'm no longer platformed, no longer making those big bucks. Need the support of every patriot who's listening to the Adam King Show. And I appreciate the opportunity to respond to all the media controversy that came from me appearing on your show, going on call-in, and it's just, it's hysterical, really.
It's so cool, man. I'm honored to be a part of it. And it's not that you need us to support you. It's that we get the opportunity in this life to support you. And then when we go at the end of this life to God, and he says, what did you do to make this world a better place? Did you empower the ones who I really sent to lead the change? Everyone's going to be asked that question. So it's our opportunity to support you. And I encourage all my listeners to do it for yourself. Support Ollie for yourself, not for him, because God is going to ask you if you really stood up, or if you were just a bullshitter and you just had ideas, that you like to talk about the news and stuff like that. So really show up for the fight and support this brother right here, because he is the one in the arena. And I even think so more than Alex, because Alex got a TV network and all these things. You're really the man in the arena. You are the organizer of the J6 Stop the Steal protest. That was one of the best. I loved listening to your speeches on that night. And because, and I want to give I'm going to close my show as an example to what America must do. As somebody who values your intelligence, Ollie, and your gift to this country, I would like you to close out the show with some words of wisdom for us.
I would say that false optimism is a false prophecy, and we should not sell false prophecy or false hope, because there's a chilling effect that occurs in its wake. And it leads people to despair, which is a sin, apathy, and non-participation. The best thing an optimist can do is first a reality check. It allows us to employ certain virtues like prudence, and takes us away from this binary duopoly of, oh, is this good or is this bad? Is this good or this bad? Is violence good or bad? Is the establishment good or bad? Is winning good or bad? Instead, we can say, is it timely? Is it of God? Is it of us? Is it our calling? And so I want to really encourage people, let's do the reality check and then set our plans on being obedient so that we can summon a miracle. That is the winning formula in every instance, in slavery or in championship.
Amen, brother. Amen. Thank you so much for that message. I'm Adam King. Thank you all for tuning in. He is Ollie Alexander. Follow him and believe in him and support him. Thank you, everybody. Good night.